When you start living with the end in mind, everything starts to change. What are people going to say about you? What message is your life going to speak when you're long gone? Because you weren't born by accident. You didn't just happen to be where you're at and happen to watch this video. There is always a reason.
Welcome, guys. I just want to welcome you to our podcast episode number 37. As you know, Fuse Life, we're all about God-given purpose, engaging and exploring everything that He has for us. And today, my guest, I accidentally, not so accidentally, sat next to her at a conference. And that was the beginning of a connection. And you guys all know I'm a heart guy. There's a lot of people who are, skilled people and action people, but I'm a heart guy, and my guest today is a heart woman. So, Marsha, first I want to just say thank you for jumping on with me. Thank you for your time, and so good to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, what a beautiful introduction. And it's so cool because it's like I can totally relate to that. Yeah, I am a heart kind of person. I'm a heart woman for sure. I love that. Instantly felt that way, the same way about you too. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Totally divine appointment.
Yeah. And it's all over you. I mean, to be honest, when I saw you, like, I can see freedom all over you. There is lion, there is boldness and total freedom. And so I'm so excited for what you're doing. Excited that we get to talk about it today. So for those that don't know you, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing?
Okay. Well, I'm a Texas girl, so I'm on the other side of the world. And it's still Friday afternoon over here. So, but born and raised in Southeast Texas, and we've got some deep roots here. My kids are 7 generations that we've been in this community that we're in. I have 3 kids. I've been married to my best friend for, oh goodness, how long have we been married now? 17 years.
Wow.
Been together longer than that. But yeah, married 17 years. Been through some ups and downs in the roller coaster of life, and I've always had an entrepreneur spirit, but for a long time, a long time, I had suppressed that, buried that, and actually forgot about it until a few years ago when I just began this journey of what I call identity restoration and realized I'm totally an entrepreneur. So, yeah.
Come on.
So,
Wow.
wife, mom, daughter of the king, entrepreneur, and blessed to be from the state of Texas.
Texas, boom. We have someone here from Waco, Texas, tuning in. Susan.
Hey, Waco, right down the road.
So, firstly, can I get you to move your camera a little bit to your left so we get you in the center? Boom, there we go. Awesome.
All right.
And I love that we're doing this conversation for many reasons. And one of them is that all of us are at such different phases and stages. Like, I've had the honor of having some people on here that are doing crazy things around the world, like big scale, But I think sometimes we forget that this whole thing's just a journey. And it's so good to have people from different parts. And your journey right now, I truly believe, is going to help shift people into action. And so I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
I am too. Thank you.
So can we rewind a little bit? Let's go back to kind of your upbringing, a little bit about you and what went on till you were a teenager, something like that.
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, grew up in small town Texas, like super small. Like I think we don't even have a traffic light. We had a stop sign. I think we had like 900 people maybe in our little town. So yeah, super small, but lots of roots. Like I said, I'm 6th generation. My kids are 7, and I grew up in the church. I mean, my parents did divorce when I was young, but that didn't keep us out of church. If Wednesdays, Sundays, we were there. But what I came to learn in church, it was just more about, it became a tradition. I didn't know any different. That's all I knew. Loved it. Wouldn't trade it for anything. So yeah, I grew up that way. Just grew up loving the small town feel. It's home, So fast forward up to teenage years and things. Looking back is when I can recognize this. I didn't know this at the time. I didn't know that there was more than just the tradition of church. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Mm.
Um, I kind of had, looking back, I can see I lived my life of, um, you get to just kind of do what you want to do and you just ask for forgiveness because I definitely had that you repent, you believe or the ABCs, of believing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I just all the way, growing up and just kind of had this it was just tradition more about that than anything else. So
Mm.
you live what you want to do. You live life and you ask for forgiveness and you just keep going on. And that's kind of
Mm.
all it was. And so, yeah, I can look back though and see a couple of moments in life where I felt that was definitely the Lord. I was saved when I was 9 years old at a little Baptist church camp. And I remember very strongly, even to this day, that the Lord touching me that day. And I know that I was
Mm.
saved that day at 9 years old and baptized
Wow.
soon after. But then I don't recall another moment of having that feeling of the Lord's presence until much later on. And that's whenever I was a much older teenager and didn't make the greatest choices and was going through some really hard times and kind of called out and said, Lord, I need you to get me through this. And so I began seeking him then. And what happened was he did get me through it. And then once I felt better and felt I was healed, I went back right back to the way of the world. Anybody else? Am I the only
Yeah.
one?
Just like all of us. Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, so I um ended up, just falling back into this cycle of I go to the Lord whenever I need him. He gets me through it and then I go back. Well,
Mm.
fast forward, there was this one time where it just was really bad. And I thought I could outrun it. So I left my little town, ran away, basically. I mean, I was of age, so I didn't really run away, but I
Mm.
was running away from problems. And um, I found out quickly that didn't help either. So,
Mm.
but I
Mm.
can look back and see now, I didn't know then, but I can look back now and see the Lord's hand was all over me with protection. I was just really not partnering with him, not
Mm.
ready to see it. So hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
So when did you have a full shift? Like, I mean, like now you're all up in there, So when did the
So
shift happen?
yeah. So when my husband and I had our first daughter, we realized I think we need to get back in church because those years, beginning of our marriage, and we really just we both grew up the same way. We both grew up in church. We both um, knew that that's what we wanted. But for a while, for a time, we chose to kind of drift away from it. But once that newborn baby came in to our lives, and we felt like, oh, we should probably get responsible now and get back in church. And
Mm.
so we just began this a little bit more seeking and
Mm.
it was on our terms. It was our choice. We weren't being forced to go to church at this point, like we were when we were growing up. This is
Mm.
our choice. And so it was a very gradual process though. We made the choice to let's go to church and let's seek for more. But it was so I can look back and see the hunger stirring, but it was kind of slow. But then I'm going to fast forward to this is where it really just kind of picks up. In about 2011, um, by this time we had three children, and I was on um, antidepressants. I was having what I know was some part of the postpartum depression, just things. And I remember there was this moment where I'd received some really bad news, some really traumatizing news, to be honest. It
Mm.
was it was a
Mm.
full-fledged trauma that I can't yet go into the details, but um, I was already super fragile. Even though we were
Mm.
back in church, there were so many of the things from my past that I had never processed. I had never gone through and really dug in and sought healing for some of the things that had happened to me or things that I had done. And so there was
Mm.
I was fragile. I was just in a fragile state, but I didn't know it. I didn't recognize it.
Hey guys, I just want to take a quick minute to tell you about our Royal Hybrids group coaching program. Over a year ago, the Lord started speaking to me about a group of people, a tribe that would only get their value, their affirmation, that would only get their identity from who they are in God and nothing else. And from that place, they were going to do great things on the earth. In the last year, we have seen a whole bunch of people jump into our program, solidify themselves in their identity with God, and from that place, actually start to engage their purpose. Fuse Life talks about the 6 trees: your spirit, your soul, your body, and then your relationships, your finances, and your purpose. We have seen a whole bunch of people come through this, get solidified in who they are, and then begin their own projects, whether it's a teen mums project, whether it's a coaching, counseling business, or a painting business, publishing your children's book, publishing a puzzle book. We have seen people do all of these kind of things, and we just know that this is just the beginning. So you want to go to www.fusebornformore.com/Royal Hybrids, or just click the link in the caption and make sure to check out what we are doing. We would love to have you as part of our tribe. Now, back to the podcast.
And in this moment that I received this traumatic news, it literally left me on the floor and crying out and just saying, Lord, if you are who you say you are, I need you to show up. I need you to show up big time because, and I remember calling out the fruits of the Spirit, like I'm supposed to have this. I'm supposed to have joy and peace and comfort. And, I'm supposed to have all this. And I don't. And I don't understand why. And so I made a decision that day. I said, I've never really sought you like with all of my heart. Like I know what the scripture says, to seek you with all of my heart. And I'm going to choose today, because I don't know what else to do. And I'm going to choose to seek you above all things. Because this thing that just happened to me, to us, there's no way I can survive it if you aren't who you say you are. And so I called out and I said, I feel like the deer who pants for the water. It's I think it's Psalm 92, 1.
It's 42, I think.
42, thank you.
Yeah.
So I remember calling out and said, I feel like that deer. And I feel like I am parched and dying. Like there is a spiritual awakening that needs to happen, like it's dead. And I just couldn't understand that because, I'm doing the check boxes. I'm going to church on Sunday. I'm reading my Bible. I'm, saying my prayers at night. I'm making sure my children go to church. Like, what am I missing? And, I was in my 30s at this point. And when you grow up in the church your whole life, but I had never really heard the Father until that moment. Because when I said, where are you? And for the first time, I felt like I heard him. And he said, I'm right here. And so I began a journey of seeking him like I had never done before. We made some decisions that were outside of the norm. We began homeschooling at this point. It was I only recommend that if God leads you to do that. I mean, it was for me. It was a God-led thing. So there's some big things that had to happen, some hard things. And it took us into a journey of seeking like we never had before.
Wow. So this
Yeah.
is why we're talking about a crisis and birthing out of a crisis.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to just talk a little bit about what shifted for you. Like you just mentioned how you were trying to do all the right things.
Mm-hmm.
You were trying to go to church, go twice a week, have your kids go.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of shifted in your heart during this crisis? Because right now when I talk to you or when we've interacted, I feel like you know who you are in God. You know who he is as your father. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I received that. That is one of the great, you have no idea what that means to me for you to see that in me, because that's what this journey has been. So what the revelation was is I had been living under there was a lack of understanding between religion and relationship. And I had just fallen under this tradition of religion. And it's not about checking the boxes, and it's not about just memorizing, and it's not about just saying and following through with these traditional things. Traditions are good. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But I had missed the actual relationship that he is my father and that I am a child of God. And so whenever that moment of trauma came and I just surrendered, it was a place of complete surrender. It was the yielded heart. It was the surrendered and said, I can't do this. You've got to help me. And I'm going to trust that you are who you say you are. And who is he?
Mm.
He's the Father, and he's Jesus, and he's our Holy Spirit. And so anyway, I'm going to fast forward to there was a gradual learning of recognizing the shift. It
Mm.
didn't. It did happen. A piece of it, a fraction of it, happened overnight. And with the Father, a fraction can change everything. And that's what happened. But then there's a process. And
Mm.
so over the next few years, it was this process of building this trusting relationship, trusting that I'm hearing him, trusting that he has the best for me, trusting that he is trustworthy, that following
Mm.
him is going to be the best thing for me, for my family. And so fast forward again, my husband actually, I was a stay-at-home mom at this point completely. There's no income from my part. My
Mm.
husband, he had been working at this point for 17 years for a company and worked himself from the bottom of the company to the top. He had become one
Mm.
of the senior managers. Um, and if you look from a worldly perspective, from lots of perspectives, he had made it because he's got the company car and the card and the phone and the bonus plan and the 401k. And
Mm.
it was great at all the
Mm.
perks, right?
Mm.
So he comes to me one day and I'd like to say, keep in mind, and I've got someone coming in. Hold on.
That's so good.
Sorry. Company just arrived. So, he, had been working for this company, and then at the same time we are building a brand new home.
Mm.
So we're in our current home, we're building a new home, and right at the stage where we're picking paint colors in our new home. And mind you, this new home is based on the salary and all the perks of the job, right?
Mm. Mm.
So he comes to me one day and he says, I think God is telling me to quit my job.
Mm.
And it's like, wait, what? wait, what? So, but because of this relationship that we have been cultivating over the few years of learning and to hear him, trust him, obey him, we both realized he is telling you to quit your job.
Mm.
So, what in the world is he up to? Because what are we going to do? So, he ended up feeling led to start his own business in the same industry that he'd been working in. He had gained, all this knowledge and expertise and had become truly one of the best in the industry. So we obeyed. He quit his job, and that's a whole nother story, but it was
Mm.
all about obedience. But I tell you this story because what it led to for me, for us, it led us to go to a business conference because here we are about to become business owners, and we've never done that before.
Mm.
And we end up at a conference, a business conference. It's crazy who you can meet at business conferences. But
Enough.
anyway, we go to a business conference and we think that we're totally there just to learn some skills that we don't have.
Mm.
And we get there and we realize, or I speak for both of us, but I'll speak for me for sure, because this is where I had a full blown, like the revelation hit me at this conference. I'm in an identity crisis and I didn't know it.
Mm.
I had been understanding that, yes, I was building this relationship with the Lord, but I still didn't know who I was.
Mm.
The things that this mentor, this teacher, this leader, this business leader was saying, I left that in just tears, just weeping with the revelation of, I don't know who I am.
That's crazy.
And so that started a journey, and it completely changed my life.
Mm.
Completely. That's where I can say a milestone was laid. There
Mm.
was some, there was milestones back in 2011, and I'll say in 2016 there was another one when it was the revelation of I need to figure out who I am.
Mm.
I know
Mm.
now that I've been on this relationship building, but what does that mean?
Mm.
And who am I? And who is he really? And so, yeah, 2016 started this journey of identity seeking.
Mm.
Who am I? Who is
Wow.
he?
Wow.
So,
Your husband's business. So then he went on to do that, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
gone well. Okay.
3 years strong now, doing really, really
Awesome.
well. I mean, stepping out, that was really hard to step
Mm.
out in such a moment of trust, to quit everything we had known as a couple, the only
Mm.
source of income we'd ever had as a couple.
Mm.
We have 3 kids at this point. We have 2 mortgages at this point. Um,
Mm.
and God's saying, hey, I need you to quit it all and go this way.
Wow. Wow. So
So,
then how
yeah.
did you end up doing your thing from there?
So at this conference that we went to, I ended up sitting by someone, and it was a beautiful lady, and I had only known her for a few hours, but I remember telling TJ's my husband, I said, "There's something really special about her. She there's a there's a sense of freedom about her. Like she had what I wanted." Sorry, the dog's
That's all
barking.
right.
Um, Thank you. So anyway, we're sitting beside each other, and she just has this beautiful light. And I was like, I want that. What is that? So I told my husband, I said, I got to get to know her. And so, long story short, she lives in a country called Latvia. She had come all the way to,
Crazy.
yeah, totally crazy because one, I'd never even heard of Latvia. I feel, silly for even admitting that, but it was total truth.
Mm.
We were at a conference in Baltimore, Maryland.
Mm.
And here I am sitting with a room with probably 1,000 people, and I get to sit by this beautiful light all the way from Latvia. And so we get to talking, and I tell my husband how much I just appreciate her. Well, long story short, he ends up connecting with her and schedules a surprise trip for me to go to Latvia and spend 10 days with her and her family so that I can continue this journey of identity seeking and journeying through this process. And so I
Wow.
did. I got to go to I one was blown away by that kind of hospitality.
Mm.
She opened her home up to me, a stranger, but that trip changed my life. Absolutely changed my life. It was hard to. I remember one day I was getting ready to go, and I just was like, Lord, are you really sending me across the world to stay with a family I don't even know, just so
Mm.
that I can get to know you better, so I can get to know me better? And he said,
Amazing.
go, and much will be revealed. And I know that's what he said. And much was, very much was revealed. That trip changed my life. And actually is the birthplace of my business called The Rock and Crown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a crazy story. Um,
Yeah, you haven't even heard the half of it.
oh, so let's go into that. So why the Rock and Crown? What's up with the name?
Yeah. So I was in Latvia in this on this journey, and my trip was starting to wind down. And my friend, I had told her, I said, God's revealing so much to me on this trip, but a lot of this journey, I kept taking the reins from him. I kept forcing the search, if that makes sense, like just digging and searching. And she's so, in her beautiful light way, she's just said, he's so much simpler than that. He's going to talk to you. He's going to reveal to you. So one day, they live on the Baltic Sea, and they had previous engagements where I had to kind of stay back and they had to go out for the entire day. So I got left alone for the day and ended up going for a walk. And I was getting pretty weary
Mm.
because I knew with all my heart that God was going to reveal things. And He had, but I was so hungry for more. I was still like so searching for more.
Mm.
But like I said, I picked up that control and trying to, force it. So one day I go out to the beach. I'm all by myself, and I'm walking on the beach, and I just realized I have to surrender again. I have to completely surrender, and I have to let it go, and um, I have to walk in peace, and he's going to join me. So I just kind of opened up my arms like in this big open position, and I'm all alone on the beach, and I just said, Lord, if there's anything that you want to say, I invite you here, but I completely surrender. I just want to enjoy this. I don't want to be striving. I don't want to have to force anything, but I welcome you and I want you to join me.
Mm.
And I just surrendered all again on the
Mm.
beach. And I went for a walk and it was great. So this sounds wild and I appreciate you because I know your heart and yeah. So anyway, sometimes it's just like I'm still in awe that this happened.
Yeah.
But God is good and he's incredible. So I go for a walk and I am all alone and there's no one in sight and I turn around to head back and I had walked parallel to the water. It was cool. It was really cool actually. So I didn't want to get into the water. And I noticed a set of footprints besides mine and they had gone into the water. And it stopped me dead in my tracks. And I was like, what? And I just knew.
Wow.
And so the Lord and I had a conversation. And so he led me to go into the water to follow the footsteps. And he led me to a rock. It was a big piece of granite rock, flat, big,
What?
solid. Yeah. He led me to a rock. And I picked it up and I looked at it and I just kept looking at it. And I was like, Lord, you've led me to the rock. And he said, yes, pick it up and take it with you. And I just looked and I remember kind of squatting down and I'm looking back at the footprints and I'm looking at this rock and I'm completely thinking I've gone mad. And he said, where is your faith, child? Don't you know I can put footprints in the sand? Yeah, I do know that. And I thank you. And so, yeah, he led me to a rock and told me to take it home. And even in my ways, I even said, but Lord, this rock weighs like 5 pounds. It's going to cost me $75 to take it home because it's going to make my baggage go, and I just start, and, and I'm like, oh, here I am again, wrestling with God over this simple instruction to
Mm.
just take this rock home. And so fast forward, I took it home and I had it for a while. Actually, that was the fall of 2016. And it wasn't until January of 2017 that a bigger piece of the puzzle came in. And so I had held on to this rock. And actually, when I got home, I shared that story with one of my very trusted friends. And she said something to me that I know, whenever the Spirit speaks, because sometimes
Mm.
it's like takes the wind out of you, makes you want
Mm.
to hide under the bed, something. It's like, it's so like, what? um, but yeah, she said, um, like Peter, upon a rock you will build a church. And so it was like, what do I, again, wrestling. What is this? What is this? So fast forward, January 2017, I was again at a conference and actually had gone early and was just having a fun day. And we're eating, it was my sister and we're eating at a restaurant called Rose and Crown. And she looked at me and she said, would you like to eat, at the Rose and Crown? And I was like, what did you say? And she said, Rose and Crown. I said, that's not what I heard. With all of my heart, I know, I know, I know. I heard, it's time for the rock and crown. And it was like, the rock, the journey that I had been on about being, heir, the
Mm.
king, the royalty, the kingdom, the crown, the rock and crown. So I had a name. First I had a rock, and then I had a name, and then it just kept building, and it became this brand. And for a while I struggled with, I don't even know what this is, Lord. I have this name, but what do I do with it? And I
Mm.
felt like he said, you share it because it will be a name that's known throughout the world. And
Mm.
it is all about identity, restoration, relationship.
Mm.
So that's how the name came to be. And
This is a crazy story, right?
yeah.
I'm feeling the presence of God. When you talked about the rock, like all hair on my body standing up, I feel Holy Spirit. When you talk about this, the rose and crown and the rock and crown, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is awesome. So before we
Yes.
move forward on that, I want to ask you something. So the rock happens, and then this rock and crown happens. What are you doing in between that and that?
Okay, so I am still I've got a couple mentors at this point that I am just digging into. I feel like these mentors um completely divine. One is from that business conference from that very first time. It was at that very first one. She does this training about identity, and it was so um just spot on that it just resonated with all of my being. Well, at the same time, this person was introduced to me, and should I share their names? Is it okay to share names or?
It's totally up to you.
Okay. Well, we found my husband and I found this business coach, Danny Johnson, and then and so we went to her training, and at the exact same time, the Lord led me to a organization called Revelation Wellness, and it
Mm.
is a so Danny is faith and business, and Revelation Wellness is fitness and faith. So it
Mm.
was this
Is
combination. And
is
so,
Danny Johnson the pick up your mat and walk lady?
yeah,
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah,
So yeah, I know of
sure.
Danny Johnson. Yeah,
Yeah. So we
yeah.
got introduced to her. I had never heard of her.
Mm.
And just totally thought she was going to be some business coach. But anyway, God used her as a vessel to speak to me just about, and get me going on this journey. So,
Mm.
but Alisa Keaton is the founder of Revelation Wellness. And
Mm.
so what I saw, so during this time, I'm connected to both of these communities, and God is just like, it's all about identity, restoration, health, whole health. I
Mm.
remember one time sitting in this process of going, Lord, I just want to get healthy. Um, and so that reminds me to the next part of the story. But I remember just sitting there going, Lord, I just want to be healthy. I want to be physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy. And I felt like he said, okay, but you've got the order backwards.
Mm.
I need you to be spiritually, mentally, physically healthy. Like I can't focus on the body as the priority. I need to focus on my relationship spiritually with him.
Mm.
So I stayed really plugged into these mentors, really learning how to just have that quiet time with the Lord. So, so after Latvia, and I have to share this with you, or it's actually about the same time. I can't remember. Forgive me, but I need to go back and look if it happened right before or right after. This journey was so radically accelerated. Like everything happened so quickly and so like boom, 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 that sometimes
Mm.
I've the order. But this is super significant to my story. And so I feel like I pray that it helps somebody else. But, going back to the beginning, whenever I was telling you how just a lot of the things that I had dealt with were never processed and being that fragile state. And so I noticed back in around 2011, I started to have these stomach issues. And it would cause me to wake up in the middle of the night, like with vomiting. It was terrible. It was only happened about once every 6 weeks. But over that 5-year period, it progressed from once every 6 weeks to 3 times a week.
Mm.
And it was getting to the point, like it was really affecting my life. And been to doctors, many doctors, and to no avail, no answers. And so after going to, I think it was right after Danny, right after Introduction to Revelation Wellness, and then right before Latvia, actually. So thank you, Lord, for helping me remember. But I had this stomach thing going on for so long, and I was really desperate for help. I had called one of my friends. I was like, "Can you just come over and, maybe she does like the natural remedies and things like that." I said, "Just come because the doctors don't seem to have any answers." Well, she comes over one night and we get to talking, And we're just talking just about life. And she's actually talking about some of the things that she was just going through. We were actually just girl talk, really, just girlfriends talking just about things going on. Well, she ended up saying the words, I don't remember anything else except emotional release. And when she said the words emotional release, I remember I was sitting actually in the opposite chair I am right now. She was sitting right where I am. And she said emotional release. And as soon as she said it, I had this, like what I call, or what I can compare to is, like a flash drive. It's like somebody plugged a flash drive in my mind, and then all of a sudden, all of this understanding
Mm.
came over me. And I had a full understanding and revelation that all of this stomach, all of this pain, every bit of it was rooted in unforgiveness. And
Wow.
I had this understanding, names, moments, pictures, just a download. And it was like the Lord said, I want so much for you to be well. My plan is for you to well. But you're stuck because of this unforgiveness.
Mm.
And if you will let it go, you can begin the true healing
Mm.
that I desire
Wow.
for you.
Wow.
Because that trauma that I talked about coming from, just all the way back. I mean, it's all the way back from childhood, things that you just, what he revealed to me is when we suppress things, even something that might seem insignificant,
Mm.
if we suppress it, because we are these vessels, and if you suppress something down inside of a vessel, you're suppressing it into the darkness. And when
Mm.
we put it into the darkness, we actually hand control and authority over to the darkness. But
Interesting.
when we bring it out into the light, the darkness no longer has authority over it.
Mm.
So he's like, I need you to process all of this and forgive and release this forgiveness. And so that night, I just remember whenever she said those words and that all came over me, I just grabbed my face and I just started weeping. And she's looking at me like deer in the headlights, and she said, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know how to answer. Yes, no, maybe. Yes, I'm going to be okay. That was just intense.
Wow.
But I made a decision that night that those horrible things that had happened and those, decisions and just, and, and I really want to stress things that the world would tell us, you don't have to forgive that because it's really bad. I just want to tell you that God has a different opinion,
Mm.
that we are supposed to forgive. And so I chose that night to release every bit of unforgiveness that I had suppressed and pushed down and never
Mm.
processed. And that night, that night changed everything.
Wow.
That night changed everything.
Yeah. I mean, this is a subject I think we don't talk about enough because I do know that emotions play a massive role. Like your soul has a massive impact on what's happening on your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you bring this up because in most Christian circles, maybe people will say, well, someone should just lay hands on you and the pain should just go. But
Mm.
God is so into the whole human that he can't ignore some of these things. And so I love that you bring this up.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much of everything about my journey feels like it's just been a process.
Mm,
There's this certain process that needs to happen. Some
mm,
things, are instant, but I just can't imagine because we need to look at our relationship as a child. I
mm.
can't imagine having a newborn child and then just boom, expecting them to think as an adult.
That's
They
right.
have to process.
Mm,
They have to go through this. It's that is the way it was designed.
mm,
And so I think that's a lot to say that with our emotions as well. They need to be processed. And I think a lot of people do. I don't think it was just me or my raising or where I'm from. I think it is just the world. We tell ourselves we have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Is that a
mm,
Texas saying or is that
mm,
everything? Is that like you got to pull yourself up,
mhm,
by your boots and keep on going? When in fact, I feel like we need to process.
mm,
Yeah, we do. There are things. that we do need to be strong, but to be
Yeah.
our strength comes from Him. Anytime it's outside of Him, it won't it won't do us any good.
Mm. Man, I love this. I love the journey. The maturing. That's what it is, right? We're
It's
maturing.
maturing. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, and
So,
totally
yeah.
maturing. I love that you say that. In fact, that so I went from growing up, I never really had an understanding of visions or dreams or being able to have or see God the way He communicates to me now. The way He
Mm,
communicates to me now is, well, I never even saw it. I was never even aware that it existed.
mm,
Um, but I would say back when this happened, this revelation of forgiveness and this revelation of, wait a minute, wait, I'm a child. I'm a child of God. He's my
mm,
Father. And I had this vision of being like a newborn baby.
mm,
And when you're a newborn, you're in His arms. You're completely reliant on Him. But then He does. He guides you, directs you, leads you, holds your hand. At one point, I had one of my favorite. It's funny, but it's really precious to me too. Is I felt like I could see myself through this journey growing, and I teased. I said, I feel like now I'm the stumbling toddler, and thank goodness for the
yeah.
big diaper. Thank
Yeah. Yeah.
goodness for that big diaper. When I land on my bottom, there's some cushion there. But
Mm,
I felt like I could see the Father going
mm,
through the house and cheering me on, saying,
mm,
way to go. You're doing it. You're trying to walk. You're learning,
mm.
keep going. And so it's just such a beautiful vision to see Him as that perfect Father.
Yeah. And this is something I talk a lot about the simplicity. Like, there's so many things you've
Yeah.
mentioned in your journey and how simple it is to walk with God, including finding that rock. I mean, and what you're talking about now and the maturing. I love it. It's
It's
awesome.
been, it's, I often say too, actually, one of my grandmother was one of the dearest people that I've ever known in my life. And God gave me one of the greatest gifts I could ever imagine. When she was passing away, she actually audibly spoke some of the things that she was seeing.
Wow.
It was incredible, absolutely incredible. And one thing I like to go back is she said, those on earth have no idea. I know where I'm going and I don't want to go back. And I think of that a lot because, and I could see the beauty in her eyes. I could see she
Mm.
wasn't looking at me. She wasn't looking at the walls. She was looking at something far, much greater. But when
Wow.
she said, I know where I'm going and I don't want to go back, I can say that about my life right now.
Mm,
I know where I've been. I just flip it. I know where I've been and I
mm,
don't want to go back.
mm.
I know where I'm going and I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, it
So
is so
you,
simple.
yeah.
Sorry,
Okay. So you
my
go through.
camera's falling.
That's all right.
Sorry.
Can you move it a bit to your left? So you're going through this process and you do this emotional release, then your health gets fixed. All the problems are gone.
Well, so yeah, I went from not, I would say 85% if I had to put a number on it. I don't,
Mm.
so I went from, this is what I can tell you, the facts are, is went from 3 times a week to having this episode that was just painful, middle of the night, vomiting. And I didn't, after releasing all of that forgiveness that night, I did not have another episode for 6 months.
Wow.
So 3 times a week
Mm.
to 6 months. And
Mm.
so I changed some diet, modified some diet things, and it's helped significantly. And I also need to say, like 20 or 25 pounds gone. As soon
Wow.
as I let go of that let it
Wow.
go.
Amazing. Hey,
Immediate
yeah.
response. Noticed the difference in my health for sure.
Wow. I'd like to quickly touch on that if you're okay with that with your diet.
Sure.
Like, so did this become a gut health issue? What was the deal? Like, what did you change?
Yeah, so I guess gut health for sure. Stopped eating gluten right
Mm.
after. Um, well, I guess not 100%, but close,
Mm.
close. But yeah, stopped eating that, but per a recommendation from a doctor who was trying to help me, you
Mm.
know. But I truly accredit, like, I know that it came, like, for the forgiveness and releasing changed so much of my gut health.
Mm.
I think partnered with the physical um, made all the difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so people probably don't even know like your brand. How did you already know you were going to do clothing? Did you already have an idea?
So, no, not really. Um, so it
So
just kind
you
of
have a
came to
name.
be.
You
Yeah,
have a
we had a
name.
name.
You know you're going to have a business. You don't even know what it is.
Exactly. I had a name for a while and I was like, I know this is a name and I know it's a brand, but I don't know what we're going to do. And
Wow.
so it just started to evolve. So this kind of sounds crazy, but I remember whenever I was first introduced to this training that Danny did, um, and this sounds crazy, but I remember she uses like wardrobe and clothes as a way to kind of be able to tell people's personality and things. Like you can tell a little bit about someone's personality by the way they dress.
Mm.
And I remember it resonated with me because I struggled so much to go shopping and find clothes that I really liked. And I was like, every time, it's like I liked to go shopping, but then I didn't like to go shopping because I felt like I could never find what really felt like me. And I was always settling. And it sounded trivial. It was like, "Ugh, here I am just kind of griping about not being able to find something to wear. But truth, I was a little annoyed, but I was like, I don't know what I like. So it was part of that identity crisis. So through the
Mm.
journey, though, and I would recognize, I really wish I knew my style. I don't even know my style, and I would struggle with it. So as I started to follow just some of the puzzle pieces, because I kind of say I say sometimes this journey, it's like God hands you one of those mega puzzles, but you only get the bottom cardboard box with no lid, so you have no idea what the puzzle looks like, but
Mm.
you've got all the pieces. So I start piecing some of the stuff together, and I recognize that, I really wish I wish I knew me. I wish I knew my style. And so just through the journey, it all just started kind of coming together. And I realized I would like to have a clothing brand.
Mm.
But then through the brand, it was like, well, but why? Why would I choose to do this? Why would clothes matter? And at this point, I'm also introduced to the prophetic, which I had never been introduced to growing up. Um,
Mm.
and then I get so intrigued by this idea of prophetically wearing your truth, your
Wow.
identity, like
Mm.
putting it on. And so it became very literal for me. So started to realize, oh my goodness, clothes could be the way to really prophetically wear your identity or a piece of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so our the shirt that you have on actually, so that's one of the first things that God told me about the Rocking Crown. Um,
Mm.
that He called me, to the Rocking Crown to have a place to be bold, be brave, and speak truth over
Wow.
over for Him and for others. Yeah, yeah.
There
That
you go.
actually, He actually spoke that to me one day when I was going to make like a post, and it was one of those things that could have been seen as not politically correct,
Hmm.
or ruffle some feathers or too bold. And so I started to delete this whole thing that I'd written. And by the time I got to like the last word, conviction, and just I felt the Father say, but I've called you to be bold, be brave, and speak truth. And so it was just, it fell on me. And so it really helped me to recognize that is part of my identity. My identity is to be bold. It is to step out and be brave, and it is to be a speaker of truth. And so
Mm.
our tagline for the Rocking is "Be bold, be brave, wear truth." And so,
Wow.
yeah, so I feel like part of the way we do that is, and I don't know if you even know this, but so everyone sees that external message, right? You have that for everyone to see. We all see "Be bold, be brave, speak truth." But what they don't see is the message that I truly hope resonates with you is on the inside of that shirt.
Mm.
So we've added what I call truth statements or identity statements or identity words. You know, we have a kind of a Mod Podge of them, but I can't remember what that one says. But you have a truth statement on the inside of that shirt.
That's right. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and we changed our sizing. Like ours, instead of you being large, you're loyal
Mm.
or you're loved. You
Mm.
know, I really want to speak these identity words and so
Love
that
it.
you can prophetically put them on. And we're still playing with it. I'm still playing with these ideas and just like, okay, Lord, and I just added what is so fun is when people order, and I'm about to step into doing wholesale. So they're going to I'm just going to let God work out all the details. But I
Mm.
do an identity word. So somewhere on your shirt, you will have a word that
Mm.
I pray speaks to you and your identity. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
I love
So
it. So, guys, just in case you didn't get that, there's sizing on the back of the shirt. It doesn't say small, medium, or large. It says different words like loved. And what do you have for medium? You have mighty for M.
mighty. Yeah.
And what do you have for S?
Strong.
Strong. There you go. I love this idea. I love it. I
Yeah.
love all
It's
of it.
all from him. All from him. About
Yeah.
prophetically let's put on our identity. And it says that we wear the armor of God. I
Mm.
mean, can't this be seen? It's like when we're putting on our
Mm.
armor, you know, when we're
Wow.
putting on our coat of righteousness, when we're putting these things on, and that they're in, a lot of it's about the internal, it's about the heart, it's
Mm.
about this place of knowing who you are in Him and putting it on and walking in it.
Mm.
And so, yeah,
Do
that's
you ship to New Zealand? You do, right?
for you. I can.
So we have one of the ladies is like, I want to stop. I put
Yeah,
their
yeah,
Facebook page in the caption. I put the link there. You can go check out their stuff in that page.
yeah. We're just getting started, so you
Yeah,
guys give us some
yeah,
grace, and here we go.
yeah, and that's the big reason actually why I'm glad you're here and we're doing this podcast because we need to be able to hear from different parts of the journey. There are so many people I know now who might have been in business 20 years. They're really successful, but the way they talk is very different to how they would have talked at 1 year in or two
Sure,
years in, right?
sure. I'm
Yeah.
I'm a newbie. I am a longtime stay-at-home mom,
Mm,
wife,
mm,
who felt the call to step back into original design. And I know
mm,
part of my original design is entrepreneur.
mm.
So
Let's hit that a little bit. Let's talk about that quickly a little bit. So
yeah,
how do you know you had some kind of entrepreneurial or business streak in you in your life?
as as far back as I can remember, and that's part of the journey is going back as far as you can remember. What were you like before all the programming that you went
Mm,
through while living?
mm,
Right? Because all of life, there's programs just being, thrown at you, labels being thrown at you. Um, Hence, one of the reasons we changed that label of
mm,
extra large to extra loved. Let's put
mm,
on that. But going all the way back, I can remember just wanting to have a shop or a business or I've always loved customer service. Like that was kind of just working with people, retail, having my own store. I can remember that as a kid playing store, having a cash register, having,
mm,
you know, playing that's what I played. Or
mm,
being very creative. Loved to be creative and sell my artwork to my
mm,
parents or to the neighbors or,
mm,
whatever. So just going all the way back. And then, but by the time I had, after three kids and just living and then, like I said, not processing and not ever unlearning kind of the stuff that I had to unlearn some stuff and just deal with some stuff. And so when I went back to that, as far back as I could remember, it was like, yeah, it's like I forgot how to dream. It's like I had forgotten how as I got older. But when I remembered, go back to what it's like to be a child.
mm,
And then I could remember all of those things. And it was like, man, yeah. And then I come also too, I'm going to just throw this out there. I come from a line of entrepreneurs,
mm,
um, grandparents, my dad. Um, we just kind of have it in that family heritage.
mm. Wow.
So,
So
yeah.
you're a mom, you're doing homeschooling, and now you're going to transition into being an entrepreneur. Can you talk a little bit about that? Did you have some fears, some worries?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of worry. There was a lot of days where I would literally go and crawl in bed and throw the covers over my head and just boo-hoo and just
Mm,
like going, this is so hard.
mm,
And but but I knew, like, it's like when you know though, there's this, it's hard. It's still hard, but then there was this knowing which brought the peace. And it also, I kept feeling the Lord just say, keep going. You're
mm,
on the right track. Just keep going. And I have to say, the hardest part is learning the new skill. It's like
mm,
I had the desire for it. It was the new skill. Like I, being real honest, felt like as soon as I started to follow God's call, that it would be easier, or I would have just these um, radical favor with this, like the skill would just come. Like I just had this expectation of it would just come. And that didn't really happen. It has been a process of
mm,
learning and really digging in, but just, and of trusting too, just to
mm.
keep going. But yeah, totally. There were moments where my husband would come home and peek under the covers. You all right? Yeah. Just gonna make it. But I would love to share this one story with you if I have time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had the one of the greatest highlights of this journey. I got to go to Israel, and it was last spring, and I had been so looking forward to going to the Jordan River. I knew it was going to be a highlight. I was so excited, and here I am. I'm there. I've got my toes in the water, and I am going to go in and just have an intimate time with the Lord in the Jordan River. No, nobody else is, touching me. It's just me and him.
Mm,
So I'm so excited. And I take the step and I go in, and all of a sudden I'm so fearful. Like it just comes over me with such intensity. I've never needed like a paper bag to breathe in, but I kept thinking somebody needs to get me a paper bag, or somebody needs to come get me out. I'm about to like hyperventilate. I was so scared. And I was like, Lord, I'm so confused now. Here I went from just super excited to all of this fear. What is this? And I felt like he said, this is all the fear that's been bottled up, that's trying to prevent you from moving forward in all that I have for you. But we're going to deal with it, and we're going to leave it right here at the bottom of this river. I need you to go under and let it go.
wow.
I didn't want to go under. I was terrified. And there wasn't really anything to be scared of, but for some
Mm,
reason, like fear can make you unreasonable.
yes.
Fear can take something that's really not a big deal and make it huge. Because
Mm,
honestly, looking back, like there was nothing scary. Like
mm,
I could touch the bottom, like
mm,
nothing was around me. There was no scary, there's no alligators or crocodiles or
mm,
nothing.
mm,
Nothing's going to get me. But the fear became so, became so strong that it crippled me.
mm,
Fear will cripple you. And the
mm.
thing is, it's just a liar. It's a lie.
Yep.
And so Danny actually taught me this, and I know it's biblical, um, but I remember her saying it, action kills fear.
Mm,
And I remember that going in my head as I'm standing there so overcome with fear. I have to take the step. I
mm,
have to do this. And so I went under. And I went under, like completely under. And I have like all this massive hair. And I was like, I want everything under.
mm,
And I went under. And I came up, and I was still fearful, but
mm,
not as much.
mm,
And so I said, I'm going to do it again. So I went back under, and I came up, and it was a little bit more was gone. And I ended up doing it like 7 times. And by the seventh time, finally fear was gone. And you couldn't wipe the smile off my face. It was completely replaced with joy. And it became the highlight of my trip. Just to
mm.
leave the fear at the bottom of the river and say, I trust you, Lord, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to take this step because you've proven that action kills fear. So I just want to encourage anybody, if you don't let the fear stop you. That's its job, is to stop you, cripple you, and keep you from moving forward. When the Father is, just on the other side saying, "Come on, keep going, keep going, keep going. You're doing good." Like that little stumbling toddler learning how to walk. Just keep
Wow.
going.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was so good. It just reminded me of a time where I had to do that too underwater. So you took me right
Wow.
back.
Awesome.
I was on this island in Vanuatu, and we were walking around snorkeling, and it was like we could stand in the water, and then the guy was like, "There's a drop off here, come." And I'm like, I'm not going near a drop off. Like it was
Right?
dark, and I'm freaking, and they're all going down the drop off and stuff, come back up. And yeah, I had to do it too, and it was quite interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
So I get
Yeah.
you. I get
Yeah.
you.
I get
Man,
you. That's awesome.
I love this conversation because it's real, it's raw, it's honest, it's about where we're at right now. It's a journey, it's a process, it's maturing. And yeah, I just want to thank you. It's been over an hour already. So I just want to thank you for your time and for coming and sharing your heart. It's been awesome.
Oh, thank you, Joseph. You are so awesome. I love your heart too. And
I Yeah, I look forward to tracking your journey and have you on here again, like 6 months to a year, tracking what happened, you know?
let's do it. Let's
Yeah,
plan it. Yeah,
yeah,
for
come on.
sure. I love that. It's an honor. I just love your heart. I was telling you before we got live that I was kind of nervous about sharing my story. And I was in some prayer right before. And my husband had said, "Don't be nervous. You're just sharing your story." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just sharing my story." And in the prayer, I shared with you that the Lord said, "But you're sharing our story." And it just touched my heart in such a profound way that the Father is so in love with us, that it is about us. It's about you and him and he and I, and we have these stories that are so unique that they're our stories. They're father and son stories. They're father and daughter stories. And
Mm.
so thank you for allowing me to share my father-daughter story. It's still in the process, but it's incredible, and I hope it encourages someone. And I love what you do. I was kind of nervous, but you've just made it so awesome. I just love the peaceful hospitality, the kindness, and the love that you have in your heart.
Wow. Oh man,
Yeah.
thank you. I know that one of the things God's wanting me to do with this podcast is to make this a launching pad for people. So a lot of the guests, especially the ones that are not necessarily famous, this is the beginning of a new realm for them. So I know that in the spirit, you're about to step into a new realm, new expansion, new territory is going to happen. And
Wow.
I knew it was the Lord that you come on here. And that's why I was like, you got to get on, Marsha. We got to
Wow.
do this. So,
All glory to him. But I'm
yeah,
so incredibly honored to do this with him, with you, with all our kingdom family. It's
yeah,
exciting.
excited. Excited
Yeah.
to track the journey. So before we
Oh,
end, I
thank you.
usually ask people to share a wisdom bomb or a one-liner or a quote, something that they hold dear to. What would that be for you?
There's a couple. I would say be bold, be brave, speak truth. Keep going. Action
Mm,
kills fear. And be unoffendable. Be
unoffendable.
unoffendable.
Is that a t-shirt?
Not yet. Well, so really quick, I was in this process, and somebody had done something, and I was ticked off. I mean, I was like, "Ah," and just like I had the right to be mad, And I just felt like this. The Lord said, "I need you to strengthen your shoulders, thicken your skin, and soften your heart. I can't."
Whoa.
And I was like, "Okay," like. And so it's really, and something I really, really want to impress upon my family is that to be truly walking and rooted in love, you need to be a keeper of no record of wrong,
That's
to
right.
be unoffendable.
That's a fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it,
So
man. That's the Lord. Can you say that one more
yeah,
time, what he told you? Because I'm going to write that in the comment.
yeah, that
What
totally
was it?
changed my life. It was
Yeah.
strengthen your shoulders,
Yeah.
thicken your skin, and soften your heart.
Wow. Strengthen your shoulders,
Yeah.
thicken your skin, and soften your heart. I love that.
Yeah. So we need to be able to carry, you know, we the there's a strength that comes from him. that we need to, it takes a strength to do what we're going to do for him, for this calling, for this purpose. And
Yeah.
for the thickening the skin, so all the arrows that fly at us, if we'll thicken our skin, they won't penetrate. They won't penetrate. They won't even get through. They just bounce off of us. So that's that unoffendable. Don't let anything in. Because your heart, if you do, it messes with your heart. So if we thicken our skin, our heart remains pure and soft.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
That was so good. Well, there you go, guys. That's the end of our episode 37. Hope you enjoyed it. Total different vibe and awesome vibe, because I love that we're all a unique expression of God. And for a long time, the church has stuck to one or two expressions. And that is changing now. God's blowing that open. So I love what's happened today. And I hope you guys got super blessed and got encouraged. Marsha, I want to thank you again one more time.
Thank you, Joseph.
You can stay with me, but we're going to say bye to all the guests.
All right.
So see you guys later on the next
Bye,
episode.
guys.
Faith and patience. Faith and patience. Patience means allow it to happen. Stay the same. Stay persistent. Keep going. Faith, know that it can happen at any moment. Get excited because it can happen at any moment. You were so close. Don't quit now. Keep pushing. You got this.